The coast of Oregon, isolated and beautiful, has been the focus of legends for generations. Tales of storms, shipwreck, and lost treasure have created excitement up and down the coast. No legend has carried a higher price in blood or been so thoroughly forgotten as the legend of the bloody treasure of Sunset Bay. The legend began during the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1848. The U.S. invaded its neighbor, and there was fighting all over the country. According to the legend, one wealthy church loaded all its riches on a ship, $3 million worth, and set sail for sanctuary. Tossed on stormy seas and nearly lost, the ship finally found refuge at Sunset Bay, south of Cape Marigo. According to the Milik Coos people, survivors came ashore. And buried something before the locals drove them off. The next year, the war was done, and the U.S. added the West Coast to its territory. The legend had just begun. The gold rush that followed the Mexican War brought prospectors from all over the world into California. The discovery of gold in the Rogue River Valley in 1851 brought thousands of settlers into the Oregon Territory. Coos Bay, one of the most isolated natural ports in the world, became the focus of settlement. Before the non-Indians got here, we were some of the richest people in the world. Afterward, Indian people were just in the way. Louis Pitt Jr., Warm Springs Tribes. Initially, the contact was positive with some of the traders, but then folks wanted our land, to move in, and there was clashes and loss of life on both sides, Don Gentry, Klamath Tribes. Our inability to read and write, not living in permanent dwellings, not being an agricultural society, never mind that we were horticultural, are all things that were used to keep us labeled as heathens, savages, primitives, and uncivilized people. Roberta Connor, Confederated Tribes of Umatilla. In 1855, several dozen miners came into the Coquille village, now abandoned, angry at an Indian man for a minor offense. They attacked them early morning while it was still dark. They burned all the houses and killed women and children. They killed everybody. Denny Hokema, Coquille Tribe. In February 1856, the native peoples of Coos Bay were relocated to the Siletz Reservation far to the north. We got nothing for it but heartache. Warren Brainerd, Confederated Tribes of Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw. Some of the native women survived by marrying non-Indian settlers. One settler, Jacob Evans, married an Indian woman and settled a land claim just south of Sunset Bay in an area that would be known as Shore Acres. Besides gold, Coos Bay had coal, lumber, and soon a shipbuilding industry. With the insatiable market of San Francisco just 2 days away by steamer, new towns sprang up along the coast. Empire City, Bandon, North Bend, and Marshfield. The treacherous waters provided many opportunities to salvage shipwrecks, and Jacob Evans and his family at Shore Acres prospered and grew. From time to time, travelers came to the area looking for the lost treasure, and Jacob Evans, the nearest settler to Sunset Bay, became a major source of information on the legend. In 1906, after his wife died and his children grown, Evans sold Shore Acres to Lewis Simpson of the Simpson Lumber Company and moved to a smaller place on South Slough near Rocky Point. Meanwhile, the beautiful bay with its secrets cast a spell. The lure of buried treasure called to adventurers everywhere. In the summer of 1908, 3 men met in Coos Bay for the purpose of finding a fortune. J.A. Johnson and John Swinney, a train robber from New Mexico, were common criminals. But George Kimmel, a bank clerk who disappeared from Missouri in 1898, would be the central figure in a national mystery. John Swinney told the story in 1911 of how he and his partners dug up 2 glass jars filled with gold coins, $4,000 worth. Johnson and Kimmel quarreled, and Johnson shot Kimmel. Out of fear, Swinney killed Johnson and kept the gold for himself. Meanwhile, South Slough had grown a reputation for wide-open vice among the squaw men like Jacob Evans and their half-breed children who lived there. After the Kimmel case made big headlines in February 1912, the Oregonian sent a reporter on the arduous trip from Portland to investigate the treasure of Sunset Bay. That's when things started to happen. On February 29th, Harvey Metcalf, a popular young man from a prominent Empire City family, disappeared while on a picnic near Crown Point. Three days later, the story appeared in the Oregonian, quoting Jacob Evans extensively. That same day, Harvey Metcalf was found drowned in South Slough. Metcalf's death was ruled an accident, but his family was not so sure. 4 weeks later, Jacob Evans became the target. A neighbor, Bill Joyner, found Evans' bullet-riddled body in his kitchen. Evans was known to be of a quarrelsome nature, and it was rumored that he had a fortune in gold buried on his land. In May, Edna Hinch, a local woman known to be the lover of both Jake Evans and Bill Joyner, said she knew all about a murder conspiracy. A missing hired man, an open grave on Evans' land, and a mysterious shooting added to the mystery. Conflicting theories about the murders abounded, but many people thought the victims had been killed by someone looking for the lost treasure. The day after the grave was found, Bill Joyner disappeared. There was evidence that he had been killed and his body dragged away. Late in August, another man from South Slough, George Klein, went missing. In September 1912, Edna Hinch told her story to the grand jury. The story was kept secret, and Hinch was confined in the Oregon State Hospital. The DA announced that 2 people were responsible for the murders, but there was not enough evidence to make an arrest. Slowly, the case faded from memory. 4 years later, wind exposed a skeleton on Jake Evans' property. Everyone believed it belonged to Bill Joyner, but there were not enough remains to identify him.